Hello, and thank you for joining us for the self paced version of From Concept to Completion, helping students plan and organize their learning using digital tools. The three tools we'll be exploring today are Padlet, Cami, and Lucidchart. Our learning targets for today is to learn how digital tools can be used to organize students' ideas, learn how to maximize organizational digital spaces, learn how to create and share the organizational spaces for collaboration, and learn which organizational tools work best for different grade levels. All three tools offer some amazing options for students. However, we do tend to think that Padlet and Cami are best suited for younger grade levels. If you are a secondary teacher, I would definitely consider using Let Lucid Chart. However, if you are teaching at the elementary level, I would suggest focusing mainly on Padlet and Cami. Padlet, I do have to say, does have a free version, but it's very limited for how many Padlets you can create. So I also wanted to introduce Cami and some of the new features Cami has come out with recently that will allow you to actually use Cami in the same way you might Padlet. So let's get started. Our opening reflection question, as a self-paced version here, a box should pop up. You should be able to respond to the question in the text box. So I would like you to consider what tools you currently use to organize, plan, and record your thoughts, and go ahead and jot those down in the text box that opens up. As soon as you are finished, you'll be able to move on. So today's training, we're going to focus on an activity of starting a new novel. So you will be students in this training. So you'll be experiencing these tools like a student would. As we are going through the training, what I would like for you to consider is what part of this learning experience would work for your students and what obstacles might they face while you're trying to implement these tools in class. No need to worry about sharing out at the end, just things to consider and definitely taking a look at the tools to determine which ones out of the three would work best for you and your students. So we're going to start by kind of doing a brainstorming background knowledge building activity. Is if I was presenting this in class, students were beginning a new class novel today. And so we're going to kind of start looking at some of the ideas that might be presented in this book, and get a kind of a feel for where it's taking place. So, our first activity, which will be happening in a Padlet, is exploring the idea of a desert. What is a desert? Is there maybe only one type of desert, or there's many different types of desert? So go ahead and click on the link in the box that pops up the text box here, and that should take you to the Padlet created for this training. When you get there, the Padlet should look something like this. It's going to be set up with 5 columns. 4 of the 5 columns do contain a question that students or teachers who were involved in this training responded to. You'll notice in the fourth one is actually more of providing information to students. So I went ahead and put links in um, to different types of deserts so that students could explore and learn about the different types of deserts. Before we get too much into this Padlet, I do kind of want to back up and take you out to the dashboard for Padlet. So if you're not familiar with Padlet, once you sign up, this would be what the free account would give you. So you can take a look at recent Padlets that were made, ones that you've shared, other Padlets you found that you like, archived ones. I would suggest if you like Padlet, get used to archiving them. If you're trying to stick with that free version, that way you can, as soon as you archive some, you can create new ones. To create a new Padlet, you're going to go up to the upper right hand corner where it says Make a Padlet. We're going to click on this. And I'm going to show you exactly which of the Padlets I chose for this particular training. So the one that I chose would be Shelf. That gives us the columns. Other ones that you can choose from are Wall, So they just kind of add the new ideas from each person just up on a wall, kind of brick like style. There's Streamline, which is kind of more like if you were scrolling through a website, or even like scrolling through pictures on like social media. It's just one post after the other. Grid, you can kind of set up to arrange it in rows of boxes, so you can kind of set up the way that you would like. There's also one for a map. So it's a nice one, like if you're thinking of like Google My Map, you can kind of use Padlet in the same way to pinpoint things on a map. Canvas is kind of cool. You can connect things. And then lastly, you have the timeline, which is a nice one to use with students as well. So coming back to the Padlet that I created, the shelf one. So again, all the different columns. You can add more columns to the right. I'm going to go ahead and just add a section so you know what that looks like. So if I wanted to post another question, this is where I would post it. Go ahead and hit save. And then you'll see this little plus sign, and you'll see them at the bottom of the other columns as well. This is how students respond to your questions. So go ahead and hit the plus sign. Something. Usually for subject, I suggest people put their name here. I have students usually put their name because it doesn't always automatically give the name. As you can see over here, some people have their name showing if they actually have a Padlet account, and some show up as anonymous. So for students to make sure that they do get credit for their post, I usually have them type their name in here. Down here, they could actually respond to the question. And they don't necessarily have to respond with text. There's so many different options. The immediate ones that they give is they give the ability to upload a document. So, say a student wrote it in Word or Google Doc or something, they could upload a document from their computer. They also can just take a photo. So, they could take a photo themselves, even holding up an assignment that they completed. They could also share a link. So that's how I was able to put the different types of desert in there. And I actually just inserted my own responses with different links. And then they also can do an image search rate from Padlet. So that's how you see some of the pictures that were posted from the quote unquote students who participated in this training. They were able to find a picture and put it as their response. I'm going to click on the three dots over here for more. This is going to show us a lot more options that students can use. So we've gone over upload, we've gone over camera, but they can also use that camera to do a video recording. They can use the microphone in their computers to provide an audio recording of their response. Like Screencastify that we're using, you can do a screen record, so actually record what your screen is doing. Location on a map, drawing, and even a link to another Padlet. Because you can actually go out there and find other Padlets that have been completed that are published as a public Padlet. Some other ones that we haven't covered: YouTube. You can upload YouTube videos, music from Spotify. You can also search for a GIF. And then lastly, you can do a web search rate from Padlet as well. When you are ready to share your Padlet with your students, we're going to go up here to share. Some of the things you can invite members to your Padlet board, or you can just provide the link like I did. So link would be down here. You could also post a QR code for students, share it through emails, of course, social media, and then also you can do it right through Google Classroom. Down here, you have some more options to save your Padlet as like an image, a PDF, spreadsheet, etc. You can also print out your Padlet. And actually, one of the trainings that I did, someone asked to see what that was like. And honestly, I was actually pretty impressed with how it looked and how it was displayed. I think once you complete a Padlet, it would be a nice thing to actually just print it out. It puts them all like in kind of order and sections if you have multiple different questions. And you can kind of print it out and then post it to see maybe and share what the students did for work on your Padlet. Let's go back up to the share settings here. If we want to, we could make The privacy, we could change the privacy and make it a more public Padlet, but I have mine kept a secret, so only people with the link. And then the other thing under privacy that you want to make sure is that when you do post it that students have the ability to write on it. Otherwise, you're not going to get any responses if it's not set that way. So really the share setting is probably the most important one. You can modify and make some changes to your Padlet. So to the title, I could even add something to description, change the wallpaper, decide where my posts are going to be positioned, what kind of color scheme and font is going to be on here. The attribution is that it is saying that it is going to display the author name above each post, but again, unless the person is signed into Padlet, it won't necessarily display the name. I can turn on and off whether other people can comment on someone's post to the Padlet. You can have reactions. So if you want to give students the ability to like or vote for things, you can do that. And then there's also some content filtering down here as well. So you can, if someone tries to type in a bad word, you can have it turned on so that bad word automatically gets replaced with just a little emoji instead. All right, so that's a quick overview of Padlet. You can see some of the questions. If you are in Padlet, you can go ahead and maybe try answering some of these questions. Question number 1, I'm looking for just a text response. So make sure you scroll all the way down, find that plus sign. You can leave your name or you don't have to. It's entirely up to you. Question number 2 again is a text response. However, when we get to question 3, I'm looking for an image for what kind of animals and or plants might you find in the desert. So go ahead and use that image search under the plus sign to respond to that one. You can click on these links to learn more about the different types of deserts if you'd like. And then my last question is really kind of more of a student choice. So I'm letting students choose whether they want to do a voice recording, a video recording, or just upload an image. Or you could even do, since it's asking what type of desert you would like to visit and why, you could use that map choice and actually find a particular desert on a map. So really this last question, if you want to explore some of those different features of Padlet, is a really great one to respond to. All right, we will go ahead and go back to our presentation. And so with Padlet, I helped students explore basically the setting of the book and kind of getting to know that a little bit better. Before we begin reading, I also like to have students look at the cover of the book, both the front and back, to kind of get an idea of the artwork that's being displayed, or even just the brief little synopsis about what the book is about before we really dive into it. So, for this next activity, take some time to look at the front cover, read the back cover here. Think about what the title might mean, think about the artwork that's being used, what it kind of implies, and go ahead and read that back cover description of the novel as well. And then when you're ready, we'll continue on. You should see a pop-up window that comes up that gives you the ability to click on the link to take you to our next activity on Cami. So with Cami, I'm going to be showing another activity on kind of that same style of columns that we use with Padlet. And the reason why I want to do this is so that you can see that you can really manipulate Cami to be very similar and operate very similarly as Padlet. So if you like Padlet, but you don't want to pay for having multiple different Padlets at once, you want to, and you're limited with the free version, let's explore Cami to see if we can use Cami in the same way. So some of the things we're going to look at are the different types of charts, organizational charts that Cami has available. Students are going to comment on student responses. We'll talk about that. So we're going to be using some of the different comment tools that Cami has introduced recently. And I'm also going to show you how I use the screen capture comment tool with Cami, which is same as the screen capture tool that Padlet has, and is also very similar, but has, like, I think, a nice feature that Screencastify doesn't. But it is very similar to Screencastify. So go ahead, make sure you clicked on that link, and join me over at Cami. The nice thing about Cami, if you haven't used it and you haven't really used it with your students, is that every time someone signs up to connect to Cami, it automatically creates a folder in your Google Drive where all your different Cami projects or assignments go. So if you have younger students, as long as you can get them or work with them one day to share their Cami folder with you, you would always have access to that folder in order to see what they're working on. So if they struggle to, turn things in the way that you like them to, you can always kind of just go to their folders and look through to see what they've been working on. So with this assignment that we did with the training, you can see a lot of people have worked on different things here. So some of the things that they've done, I'll walk you through this, and then we'll talk about a little bit more about the Cami dashboard. And I actually just watched a great video about some up and coming changes with Cami. So I'm really excited to see when those take place, because the features I'm going to show you are going to get, I think, a little bit better and easier to use. So for this assignment, again, the columns, we're using columns just like in Padlet. I have 3 questions presented. For these, I'm only having students respond with text. You could have them respond in different ways. But for this one, we're going to have them just type in text boxes. So over on our left are all our different tools. And we're going to click on text box. In here, we're going to type your answer. And then you'll also see you can move your text box around. We also have a new read aloud microphone for text box. And if you want to make any changes to your font, you can do so up here. So you can change the font style, size. You can also change, put in bold if you want. You can add links. You can also do speech to text if you wanted to do some voice typing as well. So there's a lot of different options for students.
Type your answer.
But as you can see, I just clicked on the read aloud feature that is now for all the text boxes. So as soon as you put something in that you type something in the text box, you can have it read back to you. So this is a great feature that I've heard other teachers, have used with students to kind of for them to listen to their own writing. So I think it's a really great feature that I wanted to share with you. Part of my assignment for this particular activity was to use the comment tools over here. So just above text box, we have comment tools. Students can leave a text comment, so like a reply back, like if I wanted to reply to this particular response, I could do so by using the text comment tool. You can also have students leave a voice comment if they wanted to. You'll see that my text comment has popped up over here. I can put good answer. And now my response, my comment is right here under the teal. I can also go ahead and change the color of my dot if I want to change it to purple to kind of match my instructional support color over here. I can do that as well. Other type of comments you can leave are video comment, and then the last feature is screen capture. And I'm going to show you a video of how this screen capture works. So I recorded this before I did my live training. It's so all the different comments that you have here, they're all going to show up on the right over here. And so here is my screen capture. So here we are on a Friday before this training, and I'm doing a screen capture comment through Cami to deliver instruction to students. So my instructions here would be to use the text box feature tool on Cami in order to put your text box in under each of the 3 questions to respond to. You will then type your response in the text box when you are finished with all 3 questions. And in order to answer these questions, you will need to scroll down to this page in order to the following page to take a look at the cover and back cover of the book we are focusing on. But once you are finished, I would like you to also use the comment toolbox to leave a text comment for another one of your peers or another student in the class and respond to at least one of their responses to the question. So you will come over here to comment above text box, click on text comment. The other types of comments that you can use here are voice comment, video comment, and you see me using the screen capture comment, which I really like because unlike other screen recordings, it also does give a little video of the person delivering the instruction as well. One other tool I wanted to point out while I'm doing this video, which I just saw added recently, is under this add media. We now have underneath inserting a YouTube video, you now have stickers. And they're not just fun stickers, but they also include graphic organizers, which you could drag and drop into just a blank Cami document and create your own organizer. So you don't need to just use the templates or build your own. You can actually just drag and drop these graphic organizers, and then they do have fun stickers below that you can use in your grading as well. So that's just a short video about that. All right, so we'll go ahead and pause that video. As you saw in the screen capture, I did point out the new media, which would be these organizational tools. I went ahead and dropped one in already. So let me go ahead actually, and we'll get rid of that, and I'll show you again where you can find. We're going to come down here to media. We're going to scroll all the way down, and under YouTube is where you're going to find the stickers. So we're going to open that up, and the first one, as I showed you in the screen capture, is the graphic organizers. There's a lot of great tools you could use for grading or feedback with students. But again, I'm just going to show you that you can take your 3-column organizational chart. Oh, sorry, you got to click on that. When it's pink, now I have it. Now I can click it and drop it in. So if you want to do something with Cami or something with Cami that's similar to Padlet, you could definitely use this graphic organizer. I also mentioned in my video there that you can put it into a blank document. I'm going to go out of my lesson here, and we're going to go to the Cami dashboard to talk a little bit more about that. So the graphic organizer that I originally found for this lesson was under trending resources. In the future, I've heard that they're going to, right now you can't click on them to go anywhere to explore other ones, but they're supposed to be coming out with a library that you can go through and explore some of these different organizers and templates to use. Um, if you don't want to use something from Cami, you always have the ability to bring something over from your Google Drive or upload from your computer. And down here under Create is where I would go to just get a blank Cami page. And then you could use that to drop those graphic organizers under stickers onto a blank page. You also have the ability from Cami to create an assignment right into Google Classroom. So that's a nice way to share the assignment with students. Otherwise, let me just go back to that assignment, and I'll show you some other ways in which you can share this Cami assignment with students. So up at the top are all your kind of your tools. You can also print and save or download. We're going to go up to this little icon here where it says shared document. If you hover over that, we're going to click on this, and this gives you the ability to share your Cami project or document. Right now, I have it set to create an individual copy. This is also something new that Cami just came out with. If you wanted each student to have their own copy and not collaborate on it, you could select this. Right now, I'm going to put it back to editor, which is the way I originally had it. But I think a cool tool or a cool feature that Cami just came out with for creating individual copy, let's just put it back to that real quick, are these control features. Now, I know there's a lot of tools on the left-hand side of Cami, but you can go under control features and you can pick and choose which tools students have available to work on certain projects. So, depending on what you want them to do, you can go ahead and limit them. I think it's especially great for students, maybe, the earlier grade levels. You can limit them so they don't have as many tools to choose from. You're basically, they can only click on the tools that you want them to be able to use for that particular assignment. So that is something that I would definitely suggest doing, especially if you're creating the copy for each individual student. All you would have to do if you're not doing it through Google Classroom is to set it to create individual copy, then copy this link up here and set and give that link out to your students. Maybe paste it into a button on Clever if you're using Clever. If you want it so students can collaborate on it, so that they can actually write on it, you would set that to editor, and then that would make it so that anybody with that link can come in now and edit on the document. All right, so I think we've gone through everything that's of importance with Cami. Um, Please take some time if you want to pause this video, take some time to play around. I do provide images of the front cover and back cover of the book here as well. You can go ahead and try using the text tool again, text box, to put in a question. Once you do answer a question, go ahead and use the little read aloud mic to read it back out loud to you. Also, feel free to leave comments on some of the work that's already been done. You can even on some of the stickers that have been added. And down under media, feel free to add a sticker yourself to this document, or play around with some of the graphic organizers if you want to down on the blank part of this page. So feel free to mark it up however you see fit, and however whatever, and using whatever tools you want to use. I haven't restricted any of them, so they're all available for you to use for this activity. When you're ready, feel free to come back to the training and we'll continue on to Lucidchart. All right, for this activity, it says, let's watch the movie trailer. I'm not going to have you actually watch it through this training. I'm going to give you the link, and I would like for you to go and watch it on your own. The one thing I want you to make sure to do is to copy that URL link and have it handy. So make a copy of it or have it open in another tab because you'll need it for one of the assignments or one of the activities to do. If I was working with students, I would be telling them that for this next part of the book, we're going to be reading it. We're also going to be watching the movie at the same time. They're going to be given an assignment. I would be doing this in Google Classroom, and they're going to be using this one assignment as we read the book, as we watch the movie. So they're going to need to have it handy, and it won't be due until when we're finished with the book. But they're each going to get their own copy. For this activity with you guys, everyone is going to be collaborating, but I would make this an individual assignment if I was actually giving it out to students. So again, the task is going to be watching the movie and looking for similarities and differences between the book and the movie version. You should see a link to go to Lucidchart. So hopefully you have the tab still open in YouTube, because you're going to be learning how to embed the movie trailer into a Lucidchart, because it's a little confusing. And if you really want to use Lucidchart for your classes, I would suggest kind of knowing how to do this. So if you want to get a video in there, which I think it could be, be a fun activity for students to be able to watch a video and also work on an assignment. This will help you learn how to do it. So we're also going to be looking at using Venn diagrams or other templates in Lucidchart. So go ahead, click on that link that pops up, and join me over in our Lucidchart for some exploration there. All right. So here is our Lucidchart. You can see that some people have typed some text, put some sticky notes on there from previous trainings. It's all good. But we're going to walk through some really cool features. And again, have that tab open. You should have the holes video, and I'm going to walk you through how we get video into our Lucidchart. All right, so over here on the left, just like with Cami, the same placement on the left-hand side, Cami has their tools. In Lucidchart, we have what's called shapes. So all the shapes that you want to be able to use or have your students use with this assignment should be available here. The standard ones are the sticky notes, and definitely text, of course, is also an often used one. Of course, you get a text box. So as you see, I clicked on the T and then I dragged it over here and I dropped it in. And now I have a text box that I can type my response in. There are so many different shapes to use. Most of them are listed here. However, there's actually more, and this is how I'm going to show you how to get video. So if you don't see a shape or you don't see video listed under this long list of different shapes available in Lucidchart, I want you to come up on your Lucidchart to where it says shapes and click on shapes for more. Not only is it going to give you shapes, but you can also toggle over to templates, and you can explore all the different templates that Lucidchart has available. If we scroll down here on this left menu, the last one you're going to see is the ones for education. You can click on here for more education templates, but here are just some of the popular ones that are being used. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can definitely explore those on your own. So I'm going to X out of that. I'm just going to go back in, to go to shapes. And we're going to scroll down under shapes in order to add video shape to my list on the left-hand side menu. So at the bottom, under all these other different ones, all these other different shapes you could add, we're going to click on video. And we're going to go ahead and say use selected shapes. Now, if I scroll all the way to the bottom under my sticky notes, I'll find video. And just like with the text box, we're going to click on it. We're going to drag it over. And this is where, if you're following along and doing this on your own, this is where I would like you to go ahead and paste in the Holes trailer video in here, and go ahead and have that placed in Lucidchart. Once you do place it, you can go ahead and move the video around. So eventually, I will probably have many different trailers of holes on here, and I'll have to come back and maybe delete them ever so often. If you want to delete on your own, you can. You're more than welcome to. I'm going to go ahead and click on that and just hit the delete button, and the video is gone. Some of the other ways we can use Lucidchart to insert different templates or charts or diagrams into Lucidchart is come up here to insert. If we drop that down, you can also do images and GIFs, but you also have the option to choose a template. And that's basically what I did in order to get the Venn diagram in here. Other ways to do images, you can easily come up here and you can import your own images into Lucidchart, or you can use the little search icon here and you can search for images that you might want to place in your Lucidchart. So I just did a quick search for images of desert. So if I want to, I can click on that, I can drag it over, and I can place it on my Lucidchart assignment here. So we'll go ahead and delete that for now. If you look at the bottom, we have actually multiple assignments all in this one Lucidchart. We're on page 1. So they call them pages. You could also call them, refer to as tabs. But we have character tracker. Go ahead and delete some pictures that were put in here. This is what I would have students also work on while we're reading the book, is keeping track of the different characters throughout the book. And you might even, if you wanted to with this assignment, for example, maybe have them I have real name, nickname, and character description, but you might compare the characters between the book and the movie version as well. So both of these assignments I would be giving to them to work on as they as we're reading the book, watching the movie. Um, you'll see down here we have all my character trackers, and basically I just chose a template again for my character trackers, and I just kept duplicating it. So someone added a page 6. I'm just going to show you how, if you right click, you can rename the pages. You can also duplicate. So I just added my first character tracker here, and then I just did duplicate, and then I went to rename and added in like character tracker. I added in the number 2 for the second one, number 3 for the third one, and number 4. We also, since I don't need a page 6, I'm going to go ahead and delete, and now page 6 is gone. If you wanted to add another page, you come down to the plus sign, and again, we can add that. Also, the little triangle here gives you the same options as before. We can rename page 6 to something else. We can duplicate it and make a page another page 6, I guess. And then again, we can delete that page. So one, and then actually, I guess I have 3. I forgot I put this one in too. So 3 assignments all in one. So after the 3 character trackers, we also have a chapter tracker. And so again, this chart, I would make a copy for each one of my students. How I would do that, if you're at the, especially if you're at the secondary level, chart makes it really nice for you to actually share your Lucidchart assignments to Google Classroom. So I would come up here to my right corner, click on it, click to create assignment, and then within Google Classroom, have it make a copy for each student. Students can then also, they can turn it in from Google Classroom, but they can also turn it in right from this Lucidchart. We can also share Lucidchart out. You can share through email if you want. I can also get a link that I share out. And then some other features that Lucidchart also adds that some of the other tools do not. Again, you can limit, anyone with the link and if they could edit or not, but you can also add a passcode. So, and I actually believe, Padlet also does give you the passcode option on those share settings if you wanted to. But what I like is that Lucidchart gives you expiration. So if you have a due date and you don't want students to access their Lucidchart assignment after a certain expiration date, you could set that as well. All right, so I know there's a lot to Lucidchart. Please take some time today with this training to explore. I don't think I'm going to go the full hour with this presentation. So part of that time, part of that hour is hopefully having you explore these different tools. So please spend some time with Lucidchart. Hopefully you spend some time exploring Padlet and Cami as well. And feel free to play around with the different features, the different shapes, images, inserting a video. One last thing I'd like to say about the video is once you insert a video into Lucidchart here, you can simply just hit Command Copy, Command C, and with any of the other Lucid tools such as Press or Spark, you can use Command V and paste that YouTube video into your other Lucid tools applications as well. So just kind of a little tip there. But please explore, and when you are ready, we'll come on back to the rest of the training. All right, so what I would like for you to do is to respond to this in the text box. How was this process for you? What did it feel like to be a student using these tools? And what issues might arise in your classroom while using these tools? So take a moment to share your thoughts. Again, just want to express if we're doing a live training, we probably would actually run out of time. So most likely we didn't get to this. But with these self-paced training, it's really nice. Please take a moment to go back to the different tools and explore them. Press all the buttons, see what the options are, and see what things you like or dislike about each of the tools. At this point, I would like for you to respond to these couple questions. What is one tool that you found easy to use, and which one confused you out of the three options? And the one that you really liked, what was new and exciting about this tool as it relates to your work or to your grade level? So go ahead and kind of share a little bit about that in the text box. Just want to kind of go over, I kind of talked about this throughout the training, but the reasons why I like Padlet is because it's simple and easy to create. There's so many options to choose from for students to provide their responses. It allows for instant feedback from all with text, images and shapes and recordings. It's a great way to have students share their responses and to collaborate all in one area. Um, Again, just want to review, make sure you check those share settings if you're using Padlet, and there's just a lot of different options for sharing as well. Cami. Cami allows you to insert Google Docs that students can edit or collaborate on. Um, it also saves them into those separate Cami files, remember, in your Google Drive. So don't delete a Cami file if you see it. It's keeping all your work. If you can, for those younger kids that maybe have trouble getting their work turned into you, try sharing that Cami folder of theirs to you. That way you can go and take a look through the folder if you're looking for something that they've been working on. Some new added features, and there's more coming soon. So they have equations, they also have comments. You can insert YouTubes, you can do read alouds, it has dictionary. And remember, when you assign to each individual student a copy of the assignment, you have the ability to click to turn off some of those tools, so you can streamline it down to just the specific tools students need to complete that assignment. And they have these great new built-in templates for your use in the classroom, and they're coming out, I think, with more, but definitely with a library so that you can go through and access and look through the different ones and not just use the stickers. um, Also, we talked about sharing. You have the link. Editor allows for students to all collaborate on it. If you click on the one down, you're going to create an individual copy for students, but that's great because you could also, that also gives you the ability to turn off tools that they don't need to use for the assignment. Lucidchart, I love Lucid. I love Lucidchart. It gives you the ability to easily share just with like the other tools with a link. But it gives you more, think of an advanced way to create digital organizational tools. Some of the options are the different templates. You can have tabs or pages for multiple worksheets or diagrams all in one location, and those simple sharing with students. And make sure students sign in with their Google login, the single sign on with Google their first time, and also the way that it links to Google Classroom. So one last question before we wrap up. After seeing all these tools in action, is there anything you're still kind of left wondering? Can you see yourself implementing some of these tools in your classroom? We would just like to hear from you. Your feedback helps us kind of narrow down what tools to share, what's best for practice for teachers, and maybe what's too much or too overwhelming, or if you can't see yourself using these at all, we would like to know. So go and take a moment and respond in the text box, please. So I'm just going to leave you today with this: explore, explore, explore. I can't say that enough. Go back to the Padlet, go back to Cami, go back to Lucidchart. Make sure you explore the buttons. You're not going to hurt anything. But just try to, take the time to find what works best for you. And we would like to hear if you were able to actually create something on your own. What did you create using these tools, and what supports do you maybe still need? Or is there other trainings that you could see us doing? Again, one last question that would really benefit us as far as providing trainings in the future. And of course, thank you for joining us. You'll be seeing an attendance form link and an evaluation link. Make sure you click on those, make sure you fill those out. That's the only way to get your clock hours. And we'll be giving hard copies of the clock hour forms. Those will be sent later in the spring. And if you want to find other training opportunities, make sure you visit our MSD Instructional Technology pages. You can go to the website, msd25.org, go to technology, and we have our self-paced as well as our PD calendar for the year, and then specifically for each month as well on there. So thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you at more trainings in the future.